And so after a fruitful discussion with Adam,
But we release at about the height, and then we do a lobbing. The thing you start to worry about is heating. You might want to start with a 2-stage thing.
we decided to pivot. And instead of a precision-guided egg landing on a mattress in a small town, we would set our sights on a much more general egg landing target by heading out to the desert. But as part of the pivot, we completely scrapped our old design and spent a couple months designing and building a new system that borrowed heavily from the Curiosity landing, because we figured if it could safely put a rover on Mars, it could safely land an egg on Earth. So we would still go to space on a weather balloon, but this time the rocket would have fins that didn't move, and it would be 3 times as long and 4 times as heavy to guarantee we would get the egg to supersonic speeds on the way down. Then just like NASA separates the cruise stage in the upper atmosphere and then uses aerobraking to dissipate a bunch of the energy and speed, we would separate from the back half of the rocket about halfway down after we'd already broken the sound barrier, and because the system now weighed much less, it would naturally aerobrake and reduce its speed to the new lowered terminal velocity. Then on Mars, the next step is the parachute deploy, followed by the heat shield separation, and we would follow in kind by launching our own parachute and then release our own nose cone, which would then expose our set of cushioning airbags, as you can see here, which we borrowed from the Spirit and Opportunity landings. It was intentionally ambitious and extremely complicated, but after a couple months of complete redesigning and building, we found ourselves in the desert feeling cautiously optimistic. And that was due in part to our lucky orange parachute, because when I left NASA, my friends gave me this rectangular piece of nylon. And for scale, that's the exact same rectangle here that's part of the parachute the Curiosity rover used to land. So that piece of parachute is actually one of the 80 rectangles you see here as they were running the final tests in the world's largest wind tunnel. And so it only felt fitting that after some scribing, a bit of cutting, and a little sewing, it had nobly repurposed itself for the new mission. So as the sun went down, back at the hotel, we worked late into the night on final preparations. This was an idea and a passion project 3 years in the making, and it took a staggering amount of work even to get us to this point. We had thought and prepared for so many things that could go wrong, and while I was feeling optimistic, I knew at the end of the day, it was the laws of physics that would ultimately determine our fate.